feel this is important. Incidentally, if you can imagine how much money it costs to finance Steven Spielberg to make a 90-minute movie, if you can just imagine, if you contract with him to be the executive producer to pay for a movie that he produces, can you imagine how much money it's going to cost you? Because he doesn't go cheap. Well, he made a 19-hour television series. 19 hours. Somebody financed him to the tune of 19 hours for Steven Spielberg to make a television series called Taken, in which that was one of his most important subjects in his life, was this concept of aliens taking people. Not just reptile aliens, but the whole concept of other world entities coming and kidnapping humans. And so it was called Taken. Well, the movie Taken was actually comes from a book by Dr. Carla Turner, a lady doctor, who was probably the best UFO researcher in the world. As far as I'm concerned, she was top of everybody, all the best UFO researchers. But Dr. Carla Turner was, in my opinion, she was a doctor, some kind of a doctor before she got into the alien abduction subject, and her work was just phenomenal. She did some serious work on this whole subject of alien abduction. And she began to get into the connections between the U.S. government and alien presence, and how the U.S. government is working directly with the aliens. Soon after that, she was found dead, and her husband died later. Immediately after that came out, after she started talking publicly about the fact that the U.S. government is dealing directly with aliens.
That always seems to be the case. That always seems to be the case. I think YouTube might be mad at me about my last two posts. Well, I spoke on autism. They have been, they've been trying to punish me. Little do they know, I don't care. I don't care. I hope the information was able to help somebody. Tonight, I'm really chilling anyway. But I don't hear Jordan speak that much about reptilians. I mean, just because I believe these entities, he just so happens to believe the same thing I believe. I believe there's other entities down here on Earth that are seriously manipulating reality. We don't speak about it that much, well, I think Jordan's dead, and I try to stay balanced as much as possible. Well, Jordan cooks, man. God bless this man. And I found out that when Manny P. Hall was alive, he actually used to go and build. When I say build, that means you go and you have discussions and conversations and intellectualized concepts and all these other things. So he used to build with Manny P. Hall, and that had to be amazing, man. There's just some thinkers out here, whether they are orthodox, institutional thinkers, or just free thinkers, independent thinkers, like a Maxwell Jordan, who I don't really watch sports like that. I mean, my last basketball team, was definitely the 90s Bulls. But you know, these are the type of intellectuals who are superstars to me. Free thinkers. Um, it's not a lot of them out there. It's not a lot of them out there. It's not many left either. Who's that? Foots? Little Foots? What's good, bro? It ain't nothing serious going on tonight, man. I'm just, you understand? Nobody got to waste their time coming on over here. I'm listening to something and I say, you know what? I'm going to share it with everybody else while I'm listening. I made those off, bro, so it ain't nothing serious, man. But I appreciate you. You heard me? Yeah, I hope you and the wife is good. I'm just chilling, bro.
And allowing these aliens to kidnap children, to kidnap people, kidnap humans, and using them for experiments. She was found dead.
What year was that?
I'm not sure, too many years ago. And I still have her lectures. As a matter of fact, her lectures are on the web right now. Just go to Google video and type in.
By the way, I strongly think I'm gonna delete this channel next week. Or even this week. I'm saying next week, this week. I strongly feel that. Unless I wake up and feel something different, which I don't think is gonna happen, I'm more than likely gonna destroy this channel. Get what you can off of here, right? And that's the only reason I might think about leaving it up, because I have done a lot of different videos and it's for the people. But I don't know. I'm really fighting keeping this channel up. I'm going to start a new channel. I won't be talking about politics on that channel. I won't be talking about anything esoteric on that channel. I won't be talking about religion on that channel. I think I've capped out my interests. I pretty much I think I understand loosely what happened. I cannot say 100%. I don't think anybody can. But I got the answers I wanted to find. I was looking for. And doing shows on YouTube concerning those things they don't want me to talk about anyway kind of pissed me off anyway. So I'm fighting an uphill battle. So I'm starting a new channel. If I do have your email, you will be emailed. I'll send out a blast. You'll get the new channel, but it'll be new energy, so it won't be any of the things we talk about.
Dr. Carla, K-A-R-L-A, Carla Turner, and listen to her and tell me if it doesn't run, shows up and down your spine listening to this lady. She's very, very mellow.
Yo, Foots, can you hear the video as I'm playing it? Yeah. I got your email, Foots. I got your email. Yeah, you can hear it? All right, cool.
She knew what she was talking about. And she's talking about the fact that when you hear people talking about these aliens, some of them being kind and good to us, etc., she said, you better go back and do your homework. This whole entire scenario of alien presence are entities from somewhere else who have come here into your planet, into your life. And we don't know what their objective is and what their objects are. So it's foolish to think that any of them are dear and good.
Be honest with you, man. I think people are gonna find out the hard way. If I had, I feel people are gonna find out the hard way about extraterrestrial life, right? So you got the people who don't want to talk about it because they're just too intelligent to have that type of conversation. Oddly enough, some of these people are religious or historians, which don't make any sense. If you are religious or a historian, religion and history tells us that there is a story about what we would call extraterrestrials now, sky people. So that just doesn't make sense. But never mind all that. What I'm saying is, I think people are going to be in for a ride. I mean, we already witnessing some things politically that we never thought we would probably see. And the closer we get to 2030, I do want to do one show before I shut this down. I might do one last show on Tuesday on Saturn. And that may be my last show on Saturn. That's a big topic, right? The religion of Saturn. Is that religion still going on now? Are the people who call themselves Israeli, are they just an extension of the Saturn religion? I'm starting to see America do some very strange business. I would say scary, but it's not that scary. It's just more shocking than it is. Like, I'm very conscious of like the fear frequency, so they're not gonna scare me. But the fact that American senators are now putting in submitting bills that would extend Israel or merge the two countries together is just crazy. That's crazy. I think we're getting closer and closer to obviously where we're headed, right? It's definitely where things are headed. And I think if that's passed, or once it's passed, that Israel and the United States are one, no matter what anybody feels, it is my belief that the revelation, the revealment of these extraterrestrial entities that's been down here on this planet they will finally be presented before the people of Earth. You know, they probably got to do a few false flags and psyops before it really happens, just to confuse the people even more. I mean, you don't got to do none of that for me. I believe they're here. And I believe the people in charge are not all Homo sapiens sapien. Can't be. These are different type of people. When I think about a man trying to block out the sun, I mean, people got to do their own logic to it. Like, what sense would it make to try to block out the sun? And I don't want anybody saying, no, he didn't try to block out the sun. He definitely tried to block out the sun. I read that story so many times, just trying to find out what angle would he have been trying to do. But nobody even liked what I came back with. Some people thought I was being racist. I wasn't being racist at all when I said, you know, I don't really think that the Caucasian are from this planet. If they were from this planet, then I mean, or the original, not the descendants. So I'm not saying your uncle wasn't from this planet. Your uncle was born here. I'm talking about the origin of the Caucasian people. If in fact they were from this planet, I just feel like um, they would have been well equipped for this planet as far as the sun rays and exposure and all of that. Um, Other races have the melanation that protects them, specifically the U melanin versus the pheomelanin. Scientifically, it doesn't even make sense, right? Um, a situation where free radicals are promoted like that, it doesn't make sense. But of course, it would make sense for somebody to try to do some type of damage control on the story, control science. I'm really glad I read a lot of the books that I read. The main book being Rockefeller. That taught me a lot about how bad they wanted to control the education system, and then what they could do with that education system once they got control of it. I mean, it was really an eye opener for me. And now that I'm witnessing our people becoming um, dim-witted without really trying to offend the human people, but that's what it really is. Our people being dumbed down. And not just the people who don't go to school. That's not what I'm talking about. Even the people that go to school, you got a lot of doctors that don't understand the cause of an illness. They only understand the symptoms of an illness and how to associate the symptoms with a medication. Now, if we're looking at this, there's no way you should feel right about not being able to talk about that on multiple platforms. Right? If I can't talk about what I just spoke about, mainly the health part, without the social media platforms flipping out like, yo, all right, we know what we're going to do with you. We're going to lower your audience. Right? We teach you a lesson. You go from hundreds, thousands to hundreds to tens to just a few ones in your comment. I don't really care. I don't believe in none of your gods that you presented before me because they're farces. I understand this. I don't even understand how other people don't. And this is why I can't talk about this on my new channel. I just got to get all this out my system. But it's about out my system now because I'm not, it's like I'm no longer shocked. That someone will believe. Christianity believes in the Jewish God, yet the Jewish people, or the Hebrews, let's just call them the Hebrews, have changed their gods a couple of times. At one point in time, they was worshiping the moon god Sin. And the great character in their story, Moses, they depicted him with horns like a crescent moon god. I get perplexed. I don't know. I really should probably not even be doing YouTube, but I can tell you this: I won't be doing YouTube. I won't be talking about these topics on my new channel, and that's kind of why I don't want to hold on to this channel. A part of me wants to hold on to it so that other people have a reference of the things that I've talked about. Because to keep it real with you, not a lot of people on YouTube talk about what I talk about. Older people like Jordan Maxwell, Zachariah Sitchin, you got some older people on here. And every once in a while, I'll run into a fellow person, but they kind of weaning them out of social media too. They kind of weaning them out of YouTube. But the new content creators, nobody's going to talk about this. Nobody's going to talk about this. It doesn't bring in money. YouTube hates it. And I feel like I'm done talking about it.
In benefactors. We don't know who they are or where they come from. Undoubtedly, people in government know, but they're not talking. Well, she found out a lot, and that's why she's dead. But as I said, Hollywood is telling us a lot of things about the world, and they put it into movies. And so the reptile alien has been around for a long time in TV shows, and even more so, this was in Time Machine. So reptile aliens, and then of course, as you know, in both V, the first movie V, and the second one, these were reptile aliens who presented themselves as beautiful people, highly intelligent, very highly advanced, and the humans were taken in by them, humans wanting to be on the side of the winners. So, and if you remember, I talked about the dawn of a new day in one of my videos, and in V, the second one, they talk about exactly what I was saying they were going to say. They said in V that there was a dawn of a new day in which the whole world was coming under a new world order. And I've said for years that the symbol for the new world order was the dawn of a new day, and the video came out and talked about that months before this came out. So there is something to the idea that Hollywood and government, military, are totally aware that there is an alien connection going on right now in point of fact. And Hollywood is putting it out into movies. Military is doing it undercover, and government is acting like there's nothing to it at all. But I think that there's something very, very frightening going on. I think we are being invaded. The whole concept of the reptile aliens look like humans. Well, that's not new. I mean, that's even in the Bible. The Bible says God made man in his own image and likeness. And I've talked to so many rabbis about this subject. First of all, the word God in the Bible, in Genesis 1:1, when it says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, the word God is Elohim. It's a feminine plural. It's not one God. It's gods, more than one. And then when you get into what kind of gods, well, they were supposedly, according to Hebrew, they had scales. They were scaly gods, the Elohim, who created us. So, and we could talk about that too. I've got a lot of stuff on that. But the whole idea is that these reptile aliens are in motion pictures. They're in sci-fi magazines. Of course, they're everywhere. And almost all of them have a ridge on their skull, a raised flange or a ridge on their heads. I thought that was interesting a long time ago, and I picked up on that and started doing some research on that. That this ridge or this raised part of the head of the skull. I mean, all of our stories coming out of the Bible showing reptile aliens. So, we got a hell of a long past of humans' intervention with aliens. Here in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve, you'll see the serpent is upright, standing upright, conversing with Eve.
That's the other thing. How do you not believe in something but believe in something? It's your story. Your story said it was a talking reptile who was given advice. Advice that was taken.
Alien interaction and interplay between aliens and humans. One Hebrew Jewish source on the Bible says, were Adam and Eve human? We're all familiar with the Old Testament account of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and how they ate the forbidden fruit. But what is not widely known is that there were other ancient religious documents that describe this event and tell us of a different and startling story. And the Jewish writings, the Haggadah, the wellspring of Jewish oral tradition, says the first result was that Adam and Eve became naked before their bodies had been overlaid with a horny skin and enveloped in a cloud of glory. And then it goes on to say, no sooner had they violated the command given them, then the cloud of glory, then their horny skin dropped from them. And it talks about the second quote was from another source. This is the Christian Gnostic text. Talks about how now Eve believed the words of the serpent. She looked at the tree, and she took some time. She took some of its fruit and ate, and she gave her husband also, and he ate too. Then their mind opened, and they ate, and the light of knowledge shone for them. They knew that they were naked in regard to knowledge. And when they saw their makers, they loathed them. Since they were beastly forms, they understood very much. So even in the old Gnostic Christian text talking about the makers or the creators of mankind were beastly in form. And if that's the case, then we were made the image and likeness of our Creator. And so when we were made, the Jewish writings say we had horny skins. So, and so the ancient world always showed kings and rulers and princes connected to serpents, serpent queens. Some of the scientific books are theorizing that the dinosaurs somehow or another were able to evolve into other kind of creatures over millions of years. So Lawrence Gardner wrote quite a few books, large books about the bloodlines of the Holy Grail, about Jesus' bloodlines, etc. And very famous author, and I knew him well. We did some lectures together. Well, I found out later that Nicholas de Very was a co-author in Europe with Sir Lawrence Gardner. But Lawrence Gardner didn't tell Americans that. Most of the knowledge that Lawrence Gardner was bringing out in his books that we were reading here about the bloodlines of the royalty of Europe and the bloodlines of Jesus and all that kind of thing. He was getting a lot of his information from Nicholas de Very, who was a Grand Master in the Dragon's Court in Europe, a secret society, a very powerful ancient old order where they worship the dragon, the reptile alien gods.
Dragon's
And
Court
this is a very legitimate society. And this is what what was his name? And Vlad, they called him Vlad the Impaler. Who was this? What was the term they gave him? Dracula. Dracula was actually a real man. He was a prince, and he was very bloodthirsty. And but he belonged to, and at the time, Dracula was the head of the Dragon's Court. Today, Nicholas the Very is the head of the Dragon's Court. And so Nicholas talks about, his book is called The Dragon's Legacy, The Secret History of the Ancient Bloodlines. And in the bottom it says he's a Grand Master, Imperial Royal Dragon's Court. And so, as I said, he writes a lot about the concept of the reptile aliens who have ruled Europe behind the scenes. Wouldn't surprise me. Of course, in statues all over the world, statues of aliens, reptile aliens. I saw this one in England when I was in England speaking on tour. I went to a UFO exhibit. This guy had an incredible museum of all kinds of reptile aliens, and on the back wall he would have the quotes from the reference books, from the Bible, reference books, describing, what you were seeing. So it wasn't like he was making these up, he was just showing you where this information came from, and then design creatures that looked like what was on the document. And you see the connection between the ancient reptile dinosaurs and what the human evolved could possibly look like. And as I said, there are statues all over Europe implying that humans are being dominated by reptile aliens. Quetzalcoatl, also pictured as a reptile in Mexico. This is in, I think it's in Finland. The eyes of reptile aliens, and reptiles, first of all, reptile eyes. The large-eyed aliens that we are told that the ancient people made statues of these alien creatures they said they saw. Here's one from Kosovo, going back to the Neolithic period. You see it looks like an alien with the skin, the eyes. Why would these ancient people make representation of these creatures that they saw, and they look like reptiles?
Now that is the logical question. I think that's a logical question that most people, I don't know. This is why I get tired of this conversation. I definitely get tired of, because you don't learn something so you can really talk to people that know this already. So shout out to all the people who do know this. But it's for like the others. Like you want to let them know the information. But as soon as I see somebody that's not even considering the simple things, like, wait a minute, like I said before, in history, you've had religious history and history outside of religion that corroborates a dialogue about what we would call aliens, but sky people, reptilian people. Why would they mention these things? Why would a civilization mention these things just to piss off the future? Like, just to troll the future. That's crazy. So I think there is some reality to it.
Because there very well might have been reptiles. This is from Sumeria, the old Babylonian, Akkadian, Sumeria area of the world, Middle East. Quite literally, a reptile head, reptile eyes. Lord of the Rings, basically reptile eyes. That's pretty extraordinary stuff when you think about the possibility that maybe there have been for thousands of years before humans were on the earth, this may have been inhabited by a reptilian race. The human brain, between the two lobes of the human brain, down the middle, there's something called the reptilian brain. I've talked to doctors about this, and they say, yeah, that's the correct term that's used. There's a part of the human brain between the two lobes in the middle called the reptilian brain. And they say that when a human is developing in the womb, that it develops like a reptile. It has a tail, it has all the accoutrements of a reptile, lizard, or whatever, and then it begins to fill out and become more human. But when it's actually in the formative stages, it looks like a reptile. And of course, we have a reptile complex in the brain. It's called the reptilian complex in the brain. So, you got to wonder, why would science and medical science call this area in the brain the reptilian? Also in comic magazines, obviously, all kinds of comics over the years have always shown reptiles actually at war, wearing uniforms. So they're not just animals, they are actually intelligent creatures. Aztecs and Mayas. Now the strange crescent heads that I talked about, these strange crest heads, is what caught my attention many, many years ago. As a matter of fact, I did a video on this quite a long time ago, but I think it's so important I'm redoing it. The same idea of this crested head, this crest on the heads of reptiles and birds also. Birds are connected to the reptile world. So when you see these reptiles with these crested heads, I picked up on this, as I said years ago, thinking about this, and wait a minute. Crested heads. Here's a skull. You see the crest is a natural part of the skull. Natural part of the skull. This is not that important because we see it in all the reptiles until you start applying it to humans. Now, once we've established this is a reptilian trait in reptiles, here it's called the helmeted lizard. But you'll see the reptile connection between the reptile alien and the lizard with the crested head. Then, as we saw just before, from Sumeria, you see these reptile god men and women, crested heads. The heads of these figurines were styled by some, they look reptilian, lizard-headed. And I'm just of the opinion that people back in the little ancient world, were not dreaming this up for Hollywood. They were just making statues of things they've actually seen. So I would be, as I said, would be a bit surprised if there are and has been on this earth intelligent reptilian creatures on this earth. That's what our ancient ancestors were trying to tell us. But this crested head bothered me because I see it in not only magazines and cartoons, but then you begin to see it in everywhere. This crest on the heads of these aliens, and they're always green, the reptilian. Then here's a giant statue in Persia with the crest on its head. Prehistoric pictures drawn on walls with crested heads. This is a disc that was found in the Middle East, and on this disc, a lot of interesting symbols on this disc, but one of them is a man with a crested headdress. And of course, here in the Aztecs and the Mayas, they have their gods with this crested head. And here's a deity, a serpent having a plume on its head. So the more I got into this whole idea, this plume or crested head on these gods, and there's a serpent with the symbol too. Aztecs and Mayas also had their gods had crested headdresses. Which is implying, in my mind, that there's some connection between that normal thing which we see on reptiles, and it's applying it to humans. And so here's one of the ancient gods of the Assyrians, with that same idea of the crested headdress.
I don't know. I might talk about, what did I say I was going to talk about on Tuesday? Oh yeah, Saturn. I'll put something together. We'll ball out. I think Tuesday might be my last show. We'll see. Yeah, until I start doing my new show. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and lay it down. Y'all have a good night. Thanks for supporting the channel. I'ma holla at y'all later.